Subscriptions enable you to share data between viewpoints by subscribing a target viewpoint to a source viewpoint. When you update the source viewpoint, the system automatically generates a request to make the same change in the target viewpoint. This Entity Maintenance view provides a central location to manage and share entity dimension data across 3 separate applications. In this tutorial, we'll configure the Consolidation and Close target viewpoint and the Planning target viewpoint to subscribe to the General Ledger source viewpoint. Let's begin by inspecting the General Ledger viewpoint. I have already enabled an approval policy for the Corporate Company Dimension in the Financials Cloud application. The approval method is parallel. There are 3 approvers for this policy, and 1 approval is required. I have enabled similar approval policies for the Consolidation and Close viewpoint and the Planning viewpoint. Now let's create a subscription for the Consolidation and Close viewpoint. Select General Ledger in the Entity Maintenance view as the source viewpoint you want to subscribe to. Accept the default name, add an optional description, and click Create. The General tab identifies the target view, viewpoint, and application, and the source view, viewpoint, and application. Edit the subscription definition. You can optionally identify a default assignee for the request generated by the subscription, as well as alternate assignees if the default assignee is out of the office. You can assign users as the default assignee and users or groups as alternate assignees. Note: to be eligible to be assigned as a default or alternate assignee of a subscription, the user must have write access, either directly or through permission cascading, to the hierarchy set or node type in the target viewpoint. When you create a subscription, it is disabled by default. You have the option to disable subscriptions to prevent new subscription requests from being generated without the need to delete the subscription itself. Enable the subscription. You must first define a default or alternate assignee in order to enable a subscription. You can select Collaborate to include alternate assignees who are not assigned to the request as collaborators on the request. This enables the alternate assignees to make changes to request items and add comments or attachments even when the request is not assigned to them. Select Auto Submit if you want to enable the system to automatically submit the subscription if it passes validation and no items are skipped. Bypass Approvals enables the system to bypass approvals for auto-submitted requests. This option is only available when Auto Submit is selected. Save the subscription. On the Filters tab, you can configure a subscription for all actions or specific actions, top nodes for hierarchy viewpoints, or node conditions. You use Expression Builder to build node conditions. When the subscription request is generated, only the request items from the source viewpoint that meet the filters and conditions that you specify are created for the target viewpoint. I did not show the steps here, but I created a similar subscription for the Planning viewpoint. Both subscriptions use General Ledger as the source viewpoint and have the request assignee set to Denise Adams. Notice that these subscriptions are now visible when you hover the cursor over the target viewpoints. Let's create and submit a request to illustrate how subscriptions are incorporated into the approval process. I'll add a node to the General Ledger viewpoint and add a comment. Recall that there are 3 approvers for the approval policy for this dimension. The approval method is parallel, and 1 approver must approve the request. When you submit the request, the system sends an approval invitation to all 3 approvers. I'll sign in as Barry, one of the approvers, select Request for my approval, select the request, and review and approve the request. Now if you navigate to Request Activity, inspect the request to view the approval workflow. All approvals for the request are completed. Now let's look at the subscription workflow. The subscription assignee, Denise, receives an email notification with the request details. The email identifies the original request, the source view, the source viewpoints, the target viewpoints, the status, and so forth. Because the two target viewpoints are in the same view and have the same assignee, the system combines the target requests for the updates into a single request. To navigate to the request, you can either click the request link in the email or sign in and click Requests Assigned to Me on the home page. Because a subscription generated this request from the original request, notice that the request description displays Generated from Submitted Request, Add a Node. Select the request to open it in the view where it was submitted. The request shows two request items to add the new node to both the Consolidation and Close viewpoint and the Planning viewpoint. At this point, Denise can assign, collaborate, or submit the request. Submit the request. Once the subscriber assignee, Denise, submits the request, assigned approvers receive email notifications and a notice on the home screen to approve the request in the target viewpoints. Signed in as Alex, I'll approve the changes to the entity dimension in the Consolidation and Close viewpoint. Signed in as George, I'll approve the changes to the entity dimension in the Planning viewpoint. If you navigate to Requests and inspect the request, you can see that all approvals for the request were completed. Denise receives an email notifying her that the request she submitted as a subscriber has been approved. The email includes the details of the approval workflow, such as the number of request items, the viewpoints, approvers, and so forth. Navigate to Reports. The system generates reports for the subscriptions. You can search for subscription reports by assignee. You can download subscription reports to a file. To learn more, visit docs.oracle.com.